Greetings and welcome to LA Quill. Today we're diving into chapter 19 of Arianna's tale. Damuk stood beside the bed, watching Arianna sleep and admiring how beautiful she was in the morning light. The sun was already high in the sky, and he had only just returned from his long ride through the desert. He had been waylaid by his father, who had told him of the conversation he had had with Arianna the night before. He was rather pleased that his father had escorted her to dinner, and that the Emperor had taken it upon himself to discover something of Arianna's family. At least he knew his father would support the marriage. The court would absolutely erupt at the news, some pleased that he was finally settling down, others furious that he was marrying anything less than a girl of imperial noble birth. As for his aunt and cousin, they would probably try to stop the wedding at all costs, but he'd deal with that when the time came. He finally sat on the bed, sighing heavily. He wanted to marry her, this slight girl from the West, and his father had known that. If they could only prove her bloodline. Arianna slowly blinked her eyes open. Damuk was seated next to her, looking directly at her. He didn't look angry anymore. In fact, he seemed to have no emotion at all. She took a deep breath, hoping that he had managed to calm himself since she had last seen him. "Are you still angry with me?" she whispered, almost fearing his response. He shook his head, reaching out to stroke her face gently. She leaned into his hand for a brief moment. He had released most of his anger before he had returned. What was left wasn't worth worrying about. "I should be," he finally answered. "I should be furious with you for disobeying me so completely." She sat up, feeling a bit queasy. "If you had been reasonable, I wouldn't have had to disobey you. And I did ask you if I could go, even wanted you to take me. If you had just done what I asked, I wouldn't have been disobeying anyway." She leaned forward a bit in an attempt to combat the nausea that continued to plague her. Valine had promised that the nausea would abate soon, but that had yet to happen. He raised an eyebrow, one hand moving to her back and stroking firmly in an attempt to make her more comfortable. It seemed to work, at least to a certain extent, but it didn't resolve their current dispute. "Are you telling me that if I refuse to let you do something, you're going to do it anyway?" he asked, with no trace of anger in his voice. He wanted to have a real conversation with her this morning, and that wouldn't happen if he upset her. "You wouldn't even listen to me yesterday," she cried, deciding not to answer the question. He wouldn't like her answer anyway, so it was better to just ignore the question entirely. She wanted to pull away from his touch to show him how annoyed she still was, but since he actually seemed to be doing her some good, she remained still. "Calm down, sweetheart," he sighed. He didn't want her so upset. She wouldn't hear what he was saying if she became hysterical again, and she was so easily moved from upset to hysterical these days. "I will make you a deal. I promise to hear you out if you promise to abide by my decisions." She shook her head vehemently. She was tired of having to do what he told her. She wanted a little freedom, enough that she didn't have to consult him every time she wanted to take in some fresh air. "Then what do you want?" he asked, finally exasperated. No woman had ever tried his patience as this one did, as she seemed to enjoy doing. And he couldn't even really punish her because of the child she carried. All he could do was shout at her, and that only made her cry, which only made him feel guilty. If he was honest with himself, he had lost all desire to punish her a while ago. He just wanted them both to be happy, and that would apparently take some work and some compromise on his part. Arianna hesitated before answering his question. Women had few rights in either the Republic or the Empire. A woman was expected to have a man make her decisions for her. The law assumed that a woman was incapable of making choices that were in her own best interest. Even back in Akana Valley, she had been expected to consult the mayor on a regular basis, since she had no male protector with her brother gone. Women typically went from the control of their fathers to the control of their husbands. It was the way of things, and what she was about to ask for was well beyond what was commonly accepted. She could only hope he would understand. Softly, ever so softly, she whispered, "I want to make decisions for myself." She waited for an answer with trepidation in her heart. Arianna just wasn't sure what his response would be, especially after the incident in the marketplace yesterday. Damuk stood up, walking away from the bed and toward the large windows. For a woman to make her own decisions, it was unheard of. Women were to be looked after and controlled, not given free rein in their own lives. It was the law, or a part of it. There was a reason for it. You do ask for a lot, don't you? He stood by the windows, looking out into the courtyard. Arianna rose and came up behind him, pulling a robe about her. Turning to her, he asked, "And what exactly would you decide to do?" She thought about it for several moments. There are a lot of things on the list, but she decided to focus on only the most important. Finally, she said, "I want to decide where to go and how to dress. I want to decide if I go to the hall to dine every evening. I want to ride whenever and wherever I want, even if it's into the city below. And I want to—" "Don't stop now, sweetheart." He sounded irritated, but not actually angry. She took heart from that. Maybe he would listen to her this time. Maybe, just maybe, he would understand. "I want to see my brother," she finished softly. It was this last request that she fully expected him to reject outright. She wasn't asking to go home, but she wanted to see Darian. He must be so worried about her, if he even knew she was missing, if he'd ever come home. Damuk opened the veranda door and stepped through, moving slowly and deliberately. Arianna followed him. Taking her hand, Damuk led her to a nearby bench. When they were both comfortably seated, he spoke with care, obviously working at controlling his temper. She appreciated the effort, for she truly hated dealing with his anger. "Now I will tell you what I want. I want to know that you and our child are both safe and healthy. I want you to think before you act, to have a care, for the sake of the babe at the very least." He ran a hand through her golden hair, which was fine as spun silk, and tilted her head back just slightly. "And I want a passionate woman warming my bed each night." She bristled at the last comment, still not comfortable with that particular demand. "Well, Your Highness, you won't always get what you want." Her voice sounded peevish, but she thought it was warranted, given what he had said. Damuk had anticipated her response and wasn't angry. He kissed her gently, which obviously irritated her. "Neither, my lady. Will you?" He released her hair, moving his hand down to clasp her trembling fingers. Arianna looked up at him with pleading eyes. She could bend just a little if he would. It wasn't like she hated being with him. Women had traded their bodies for much less than their freedom and would continue to do so. What made her so different? "Can't we come to a sort of compromise?" she finally proposed. Damuk stood and swung her into his arms, laughing at her predictable squeal, and headed back into the bedchamber. He removed her robe and laid her in bed. He stripped off his clothing and soon joined her. He was exhausted, not having slept last night. Staring into her eyes, he decided to yield, just a little, just enough to have her yield in return. "You can have the run of the palace grounds, sweetheart. Go anywhere you like, anytime you like. If you don't like the clothing you're wearing, I'll have the seamstress back to order new things." It was this request that most confused him, since she'd chosen the clothing in the first place. With a shake of his head, he decided he wasn't about to try to fathom the mind of a pregnant woman, especially this pregnant woman. Arianna pouted prettily, obviously annoyed at his response. "Even when you told her that I could choose, she still gave me mostly gowns that I won't wear." Damuk raised an eyebrow in question, and Arianna left the bed, moving to her own wardrobe. It had appeared one day after dinner, the same day she had complained about the lack of space in Damuk's wardrobe. She'd been grateful that he'd done so, for she now had too many clothes to store beside his. She pulled out a gown, one of those which would make her look like an overgrown belle. "I won't wear these," she stated flatly. She hated the style outright and was determined never to wear them. "Is that why I only see you in 4 different gowns?" Damuk asked. He'd thought it was just her being contrary, or maybe just being pregnant and irritable. Now he realized there was an entirely different reason. This changed his thinking a little. She nodded, dropping the gown to the floor and returning to the bed. She was almost as tired as he was, but for different reasons. Hopefully, she'd soon get to take a quick nap. "We'll get you a different seamstress then. Satisfied?" "About the gowns, yes. I don't want you to force me to go to the hall to dine every evening." She wasn't sure how that request would go over. He had always been so insistent that she dine with him, with the court. His eyebrow shot back up. "You don't wish to dine with me?" That was an affront to his pride, and he wasn't about to let her get away with it. Besides, he enjoyed showing her off in front of everyone. Arianna was currently looking for her bolster, which she used to support her back when it was sore, and it was definitely sore now. She knew it was in the bed somewhere, probably lost under the mound of pillows she so enjoyed. I didn't say that. She located her bolster behind a pillow, just as she suspected, and settled herself next to him, wiggling until she was comfortable. But I want to be the one to decide. I don't want you to control every aspect of my life. I think I deserve better. Damuk had been about to tell her that she was to dine in the hall regardless of her personal feelings on the matter. But when he thought about it, he realized she had a point. She did deserve better from him, as the mother of his future heir at the very least. "All right," he finally said. "If you can promise me that you will dine in the hall most nights." She nodded easily. "I do want to dine with you most nights. It would just be nice to be asked." She was glad he was listening to her. Maybe they could come to terms with each other. Maybe living with him wouldn't be quite as terrible as she had first imagined. Easy enough. As for riding beyond the castle walls, you have to understand that it's not safe. She started to turn away from him in disgust. He grabbed her hand. "No. Listen. You are carrying my heir, and not everyone is happy about that. Most notably, my dear Aunt Sybil." He watched her eyes widen. "She's already threatened you. I have no trouble believing she'd carry out that threat." Arianna slapped his shoulder. "Why didn't you tell me that?" She slapped him a few more times, more in fear than in anger. He wasn't the source of that fear, but he made a convenient target. He grabbed her hands, stopping her assault. "I didn't want to frighten you. You were lucky that Faline discovered you were missing before one of Sybil's people did. You might be dead now." He felt her tremble and pulled her closer, not wanting to see her truly frightened. "If you wish to go beyond the palace walls, I will consider it." "If I had known that she hated me that much, I would have been more careful." She bit her lip. "Why does your aunt hate me so?" Damuk placed a hand on her belly, which was only slightly rounded at this point, not enough to really notice. "You carry the death of her dreams. She very much wants for her line to inherit the throne. Once I have a son, that will never happen. And I suppose your inflated male pride never considered the possibility of a daughter?" she asked, only partially joking. He smiled at her. "Not likely. The firstborn in my family is always a son. Has been for 600 years. It's how our line has remained unbroken, since daughters cannot inherit." His eyes returned to her belly, fascinated with the idea of their child growing within her. "Anything else you wanted from me?" "Well, yes, but," she stammered. "What is it?" he asked, a little impatient at this point. He was tired and wanted to sleep. "I want to see my brother," she blurted. She fully expected him to be angry by this last request. Instead, he sighed. "I've been trying to locate him for a couple of weeks, even before you spoke to my father last night. I don't have much information, so it's not easy." Arianna sat up, dislodging his hand on her belly. "Why are you looking for him?" She was a little afraid for her brother. He met her eyes directly. "Because I intend to marry you." She gasped, searching his eyes for the truth behind his words. "You really mean that, don't you?" Damuk nodded and pulled her back beside him. "But I can't do that unless I can prove you have some noble blood." He was exhausted. "We need to talk about this later. I can hardly keep my eyes open." Arianna was also tired, mainly from all the crying yesterday. And at least she had some hope of seeing Darian again. That alone was comforting to her. Finally, for the first time, she realized she wanted to stay with Damuk, but she needed to see her brother. She didn't understand why she was so comfortable with Damuk now. He'd done things to her that no decent man would do to a woman. By all rights, she should hate him. And she was still angry. He'd done so much to her and never once said he was sorry. He never seemed as if he felt any remorse at all, not for anything. But for all of that, she wanted to be with him. Arianna closed her eyes and drifted into slumber, feeling safe and warm and wondering at the irony of it all. And that's our tale from L.A. Quill today. If you enjoyed this chapter, let me know your favorite moment in the comments. Until next time, may your stories always be magical.